reactors, small modular reactors, and components through the Invest in Washington Act. By way of background, the Invest in Washington pilot program was created in 2015 to evaluate the effectiveness of a program providing a tax incentive for businesses that invest in manufacturing facilities and equipment and reinvest those tax savings in employee training programs. Eligible investment projects include up to $10 million in sales and use tax on construction costs or purchases of qualified machinery and equipment. The pilot program provides tax deferrals for up to 2 qualified facilities, one of which must be located in Eastern Washington and one which must be located in Western Washington. Under this bill, the Invest in Washington program will expand to provide a tax deferral on the construction and cost of new, renovated, or expanded manufacturing facilities. It also removes the facility's geographical requirements and extends the program until 2031. In this bill, eligible investment projects is expanded to encourage projects that produce advanced nuclear reactors, small modular reactors, or components of either reactors. Advanced nuclear reactors are nuclear fission reactors that use the latest nuclear technology, and small modular reactors are a type of advanced nuclear reactors which produce a gross power output no greater than 350 megawatt of electricity and are designed for factory manufacturing and ease of transport. A fiscal note is available, and with that, I will conclude my presentation and answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Julie? Okay, I don't see any hands at this point, so I'll invite Senator Brown to speak on her bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking and Assistant Chair Lala, for allowing me to talk about this bill today. I think it's indisputable that if we're going to have a carbon-free future, that we absolutely have to talk about an all-of-the-above portfolio. And in that all-above portfolio, we're going to have to talk about nuclear. I'm really excited about this bill that's being brought before you today because it has direct relevance to at least two companies that are currently in Washington State. So the U.S. Department of Energy just recently gave a $160 million grant to two companies with regard to advancing nuclear energy, one of which is TerraPower. $80 million went to TerraPower, which is located in Bellevue. See Senator Wellman shaking her head. She knows all about this. We've had an opportunity to explore this a little bit. And the other $80 million went to a company called X Energy, which is headquartered out of Maryland, but looking at putting operations into Richland, Washington. So we have a perfect opportunity here to continue the advancement of advanced nuclear energy. What we really want to do is we want to keep that supply chain in the state of Washington. We have fierce competition from our neighbors, especially the state of Idaho. I was just reading this morning a 44-page report that the state of Idaho has put together to incentivize this industry. So the competition exists, it is real. We've been fortunate to date because NuScale is another company that's headquartered out of Corvallis, Oregon. They are probably the leaders in this industry, and they've been able to get the vessels forged for their demonstration projects at Oregon Iron Works. However, the vessels were actually forged in Vancouver, Washington, and the fuel for those demonstration reactors are being manufactured in the state of Washington, as is the tubing. However, again, I want to really emphasize the fact that our neighbors are competing fiercely for this supply chain. It's going to be a supply chain that's going to be particularly important going forward. So thank you very much for hearing this bill.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Senator Brown? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our first panel. So we have Casey Burns, Cathy Sampson, and Carl Pauls. Casey, if you're ready, please go ahead.
I'm ready. Can you hear me? So I'm Casey Burns in Kingston, Washington. I am a flute maker by career, but I've been an anti-nuclear activist, and I've also been a paleoscientist working with scientists at the California Academy of Sciences with Dr. Rich Moy and others. I just wanted to point out that last night was the 321st anniversary of the earthquake that we had here, the large megathrust earthquake that's something that we have here about every 321 years. We are overdue. So in terms of citing these things, we will never be able to have any of them west of the Cascades. Just a quick note on the pronunciation of New Scale. We're pronouncing it wrong. It's whoops. We've been down here that road before too with the Washington Public Power Supply scandal. I'm going to be submitting some written comments on biodiversity and climate versus the time for these. The wastes that we generate are forever, literally. And also these nukes are adding more targets for terrorists. But let me conclude. According to the sciences at the California Academy of Sciences, Peter Rupnerine leading this, by the time these modular reactors come online, we will be too late for the runaway stage of climate change and biodiversity loss. We're planning to, or we're aiming for 20 or 95% loss by 2100. We're at the steepest part of the curve now, and we don't have 5 years. We now need to get things that are cheaper and already here, like rooftop solar and stuff going. And it's a better investment for our tax dollars and stuff. New Scale may be unaware of how dire the situation is, and they might want to speed up, or they may be greenwashing us to just market a bigger share of the market. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak. Look for my written comments.
Thank you so much. And sorry, I said Cathy earlier, but it looks like it's Karhi, and we're still looking for Carl Pauls. But Karhi, go ahead.
Yeah, that was a typo. For the record, my name is Cathy Sampson Cruzy. I'm a member of the Walla Walla tribe, known as Walulapum. I have a home in West Valley of Yakima, Washington. In our tribal language, I'd like to say She'ech Pachwe, good day. SB 5244 is another bad idea by corporate actors who only have really one goal, and the goal is to capitalize on another bad idea. They're greenwashing, and let's remember that in 1957, 64 years ago, we were promised as a people that there would be a repository for high-level nuclear waste. We still have no federally licensed waste repository. The previous person talked about whoops. We don't need to talk again about Hanford because it's with us forever, and the Columbia Generating Station. As a tribal member, we have to understand that these are false energy solutions, and they're going to be burdening us forever, our grandchildren, your grandchildren. I will be submitting 2 resolutions for the record. The first one is from the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians, resolution number 19-10, which opposed the Oregon Senate Bill 444 and any other nuclear power plants in Oregon. Also, there's a resolution by the Great Chiefs up in Canada, the Special Chiefs Assembly in 2019, where they specifically said no to small modular nuclear reactors. You know, TerraPower and Bill Gates have a lot of money, and they're going to put a lot of money into this. My husband and I are taxpayers, and I don't want our tax money to go for this. So I say no, stop now. Be on the right side of history. Stop SB 5244 now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for this panel? All right, moving on. Next, we have Stephanie Swanberg, Jason Herbert, and David Replog. And Carl, if you join us later, just make sure you come in.
Thank you, Senator Carlisle, Vice Chair Lovelet, and the committee and the bill sponsors. For the record, I am Stephanie Swanberg, Government and Regional Affairs Director of the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce, here to testify today in support of 5244. The Tri-Cities has it all: water, wind, sun, land, abundant clean energy in a world-class laboratory, research and development facility, academia, and experts. These resources are what differentiate our region from others and set us apart as a dynamic springboard for opportunity. Our region is uniquely positioned to leverage these resources to provide energy solutions that have a global impact. So if you're worried about how people feel about having something like this in our backyard, the MyTri 2030 Regional Vision Project is community driven, and our community has coalesced around energy as a major area of opportunity. Over 6,000 members of our community have so far partaken in being active in MyTri 2030. And through this vision project, we have collectively embarked on a long-term effort to transform the region through opportunities in energy. The community has overwhelmingly spoken in support of SMRs and would love to be involved in those supply chain opportunities that Senator Brown has talked about for the nuclear industry, backed up with a working model for training. Passage of this bill would open the door of opportunity to put the Tri-Cities in a position as a global clean energy leader and show the world our commitment to clean energy. We can incorporate our heritage of innovation and technology and open countless opportunities for education, investment, and to change the image of the Tri-Cities as being somewhere that's all about waste. We would attract new jobs and a workforce that will sustain our economy post-cleanup. And with that, I would just say, please invest in Washington by expanding this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next up we have Jason.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Jason Herbert. As Director of Government Affairs at Energy Northwest and Chair of the Tri-Cities Legislative Council, I speak today in support of Senate Bill 5244. I'd like to thank Senator Brown for sponsoring this legislation and Chairman Carlisle and the committee for your consideration. With the adoption of CETA, Washington is on a path to achieve 100% carbon-free electricity. This ambitious, worthwhile goal is not without its challenges, however. Without coal and natural gas, how do we maintain a reliable grid and affordable electricity? We do it by utilizing all clean resources and plan today for the modern grid of tomorrow. The future is an integrated system where carbon-free technologies complement rather than compete with one another. It is a balanced system consisting of all emissions-free resources and storage, and it includes advanced reactors and SMRs. Energy Northwest knows such a system is possible. We operate a zero carbon portfolio consisting of wind, solar, storage, hydropower, and nuclear energy. Washington State has the opportunity to build advanced reactors, providing the state with safe, reliable, carbon-free electricity, as well as new jobs and billions in economic benefit. Developing new, innovative generating technologies is vital to meeting our climate goals. This legislation will help Washington and Washington businesses maintain our leadership in the development of new energy technologies and continue the state's proud tradition as a leading clean energy hub. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, last on this panel is David.
Good morning to the chair, the vice chair, and to the members of the committee. For the record, my name is David Replog. I serve as vice president for the Tri-City Development Council, or TRIDEC, and TRIDEC is the Associate Development Organization, or ADO, for both Benton and Franklin counties surrounding the Tri-City area. I also speak in support of Senate Bill 5244. As background, TRIDEC established what we call the Mid-Columbia Energy Initiative, or MCEI, about 10 years ago to establish the Tri-Cities as the clean energy hub of the Pacific Northwest, drawing on our community's decades of experience in energy research, development, and generation. And we appreciate the state legislature's desire, as well as the governor's, to further reduce carbon emissions through the Clean Energy Transformation Act, and believe that the Tri-Cities can be a great partner and an asset in helping to meet CETA goals. As an economic development organization, we also believe that we should leverage CETA as a way for Washington State to play an important leadership role nationally and internationally in reducing carbon emissions, and that these efforts are also a great opportunity to increase Washington State jobs and exports in the process. One particular area where we can meet these goals is in advanced nuclear energy, both with new generation here and by manufacturing the components for advanced reactors that would be sited elsewhere. The incentives proposed in Senate Bill 5244 would be tremendously beneficial in both of these respects. So TRIDEC strongly supports this bill, and we sincerely thank Senator Brown and her colleagues for sponsoring it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for this panel? All right, seeing none, thank you. And we'll move on to our next panel. We have Rick Dunn, Katherine Chetty, and Stephen Tomlanovich. Rick, go ahead. Remember to state your name for the record and watch the timer, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning. I'm Rick Dunn, General Manager of Benton PUD with headquarters in Kennewick. I'm pleased to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 5244. Global CO2 emissions from electricity production continue to rise, primarily as a result of developing countries accessing abundant and low-cost fossil fuels as a means of digging themselves out of poverty. China alone brought over 11 gigawatts of coal power capacity online in the first 6 months of 2020. This represents 2 gigawatts more energy producing capability than all of the hydro and nuclear energy produced by the Federal Columbia River Power System in a typical water year. China has also approved permits for another 19 gigawatts of future coal projects. While total global emissions from electricity production continue to rise, emission reductions are the trend in advanced economies like the US, where fuel switching from coal to natural gas has been the primary driver of bending the curve downward since 2007. Increases in wind and solar power have augmented the decline, but cannot provide the always-on baseload electricity demanded by modern civilization. The reality is that fossil fuels are the largest source of electricity production in the world today, and it isn't even close. If Washington State wants to be a true global leader in clean energy, we need to come to terms with the reality of global emission levels and trends, the limits of variable and energy dilute technologies like wind and solar, as well as the competing interests of other human beings on the planet. There is no technology in existence today that is in the same league as commercially proven, non-emitting, energy-dense nuclear power when it comes to producing vast amounts of electricity on a small footprint and in close proximity to population centers. As I see it, nuclear power is the only technology capable of supporting deep decarbonization across all sectors of advanced economies now and in developing economies in the future. Energy Northwest has put the spotlight on Washington as a place where the promise of nuclear power is ready to grow. I encourage you to build on this momentum by passing Senate Bill 5244. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, Katherine, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Katherine Chetty, and I oppose Senate Bill 5244. It is tempting to believe that somehow nuclear energy holds part of the answer to address catastrophic climate change. Here in the Pacific Northwest, the research and development of small modular nuclear reactor designs has added to that temptation. A review of different major designs under development concludes that none meet simultaneously the key challenges of cost, safety, waste, and proliferation. NuScale, considered to be the frontrunner in SMNR designs, has encountered setbacks where the timeline for potential operating reactors has been pushed back until 2029 at the earliest due to rapidly escalating construction costs and missed deadlines. The truth behind the curtain is that the costs and risks of nuclear technology, which is not clean energy, far outweigh potential benefits of an industry that has a long history of promising much and in the end not being able to deliver a cost-effective, safe power source. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission approved the final safety evaluation using taxpayer dollars to subsidize nuclear power design. In a press release, the NRC faced significant drains on state income. Demonstrates the NRC's commitment to high-level nuclear waste technology, no viable repository. The press release did not admit the dissent by Dr. Long-term energy proposition that takes away from nuclear regulation, safer and less costly, more could reach fuel energy technologies. I urge you as our legislators to resist the siren call of risk and based on event analysis and the identified modeling deficiencies the authored wise decisions and adding to the dreadful legacy of radioactive waste that they will inherit. So much for that commitment to time and licensing of safe technologies.
More comments, please do it in writing, but you've already gone over time. I'm sorry. Next we have Stephen.
Significant drains on state income. Nuclear power still produces.
Go ahead,
and
Stephen.
drains on state income. Nuclear power still produces high-level nuclear waste for which there is no viable repository, poses unique safety risks, and
Hello, can you
remains
hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
the siren call of risk and
Thank
cost-laden
you,
nuclear
members
power.
of the committee, for
Our
allowing
young
me to
people are
express my
relying on you
opinion
to make
regarding
wise
SB
decisions, and adding to the
5244.
dreadful
My
legacy
name is
of
Stephen
radioactive waste
Tomanovich.
that they
I'm a
will
retired
inherit is
physician and
not
representing
right
the
decision
organization
for their future.
Washington
Like,
Physicians
more
for Social
comments, please do it
Responsibility,
in
with
writing,
over
but you've already
1,000
gone over
members in
time.
this
I'm
state.
sorry.
Our
Next, we have
organization is
Stephen.
opposed to the passage of this bill as it is currently written. The small modular nuclear reactor is not new technology.
Go ahead, Stephen.
It is conventional nuclear power generation in a small package. With its smaller size comes a higher cost of development and construction and increased nuclear waste per unit of electricity generated.
Okay, thank you.
Safe disposal of nuclear waste has been a significant deterrent to the expansion of nuclear power in this country, as evidenced by only Stephen reactors to come online. I'm a retired physician and representing the organization. And in this state, the Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility will hang over our heads for decades to come. In this state, we should not promote a technology that has not adequately addressed the safety concerns of nuclear waste. The small modular nuclear reactor is not small modular reactors have conventional nuclear power generation in a small package. Certain safety issues that have not been addressed yet comes a higher with cost more nuclear waste per unit of electricity waste per unit of electricity. This is not the future of power generation. Safe disposal of nuclear waste has been a significant deterrent to the expansion areas of carbon-free energy that have lower costs, less impact to come online in the past, and a better safety profile. Thank you for listening to our concerns. The Hanford site cleanup will hang over our heads
All
for
right,
decades
thank you
to
so
come.
much. Any questions for this
We should
panel?
not promote a technology that has not adequately
All right,
addressed the safety
seeing
concerns
none, I
of
just want
nuclear
to,
waste disposal.
because I forgot to mention this
In
earlier,
summary,
on
these
Senate Bill
small modular reactors
5219,
have
we additionally had
questionable applicability,
71
higher
people
costs,
signed
certain
in not
safety
wishing to
issues that have
testify
not
that
been
were
addressed
pro
yet,
and one
with
con.
more nuclear
And on
waste
Senate
per
Bill
unit of electricity
5244,
produced.
we had
This
an
is not the
additional
future of
25
power
people signed
generation.
in pro
We
and
oppose this bill
22
and believe our
con
tax
not wishing
dollars
to
should be spent
testify.
developing areas
So
of
our final
carbon-free
panel, we
energy
have
that have
Alan
lower costs,
Kaptonoglu
less
and
impact on the
George
environment, and a better safety profile. Thank you for listening to our concerns.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions for this panel? All right, seeing none, I just want to, because I forgot to mention this earlier, on Senate Bill 5219, we additionally had 71 people signed in not wishing to testify that were pro and one con. And on Senate Bill 5244, we had an additional 25 people signed in pro and 22 con not wishing to testify. So our final panel, we have Alan Kaptonoglu and George Weirn.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity today to talk. In general, I support various bills on supporting clean energy and reducing emissions in Washington. I can't support the bill as it currently exists. I should say I'm a private citizen. As many people have brought up, nuclear waste has been an ongoing issue. There's no viable repository. It has disproportionately affected marginalized communities throughout its history. I also want to, this is my first public testimony, and I want to go on record saying I sort of am against this whole process. I think the public testimony here has been mostly taken up by special interests, as was evidenced on the last bill. If you listen to everyone who testified on the last bill, every single person in the state would get an exemption. So I think this is not the best way to get public testimony and an idea of what the public actually wants. Let's see. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next we have George.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is George Warren. I'm a resident in Graham, Washington. I testify, I'm against the proposal, Senate Bill 5244, for many of the reasons that have already been expressed. Washington faces an $8 billion shortfall due to the pandemic. Don't be devoted to special interests, which is essentially what this bill is. It's promoted by the Tri-Cities area, the Chamber of Commerce, saying it's going to be good for the economy. And yet there are only 3 companies that were mentioned, some of whom have testified today. We have a short memory here if we're even entertaining this bill. People have mentioned, whoops, the $2.2 billion bond default, one of the largest in U.S. history of the Washington Public Power Supply System. Proponents would suggest that this bill is going to be a windfall for the economy, and yet Hanford's cleanup is now $173 billion to date, and it's going to go on for 50 more years. They talk about clean energy, we're still cleaning up Hanford for the next multiple decades. The projected cost to cleanup of Hanford is $493 billion. I very much doubt that any of the advantages.
Thank you. Sorry for the lateness of my connect, so my thoughts might be slightly disorganized. I am in support of Senate Bill 5244. I am a volunteer with the Seattle Friends of Fission. We are an unfunded organization, and I am employed by a privately held video games company. I have no direct connections to the industry other than folks in my family worked in the energy industry. I came around to the topic of energy late in life. I began against nuclear energy and later converted when I saw the great challenges ahead of us.
You are muted.
Relating to that, Lisa Meitner discovered nuclear fission. She fled Nazi Germany under the cover of darkness, not knowing what her discovery wrought. She later said, "You must not blame us scientists for the use which war technicians have put our discoveries." Testimony today offends the history and the memory of Lisa Meitner. They conflate nuclear weapons and nuclear energy. They attempt to scare us with stories of nuclear waste that have no grounding in science. They attempt to wave away concerns of climate change. Nuclear energy is one of the vital technologies to address the problem of climate change. Thank you. Lisa Meitner discovered nuclear fission. She fled Nazi Germany under the cover of darkness, not knowing what her discovery wrought. She later said, "You must not blame us scientists for the use which war technicians have put our discoveries." Testimony today offends the history and the memory of Lisa Meitner. They conflate nuclear weapons and nuclear energy. They attempt to scare us with stories of nuclear waste that have no grounding in science. They attempt to wave away concerns of climate change. Nuclear energy is one of the vital technologies to address the problem of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And seeing no questions from members, that closes the hearing for Senate Bill 5244.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. I appreciate that. With that, that concludes our public hearing on Senate Bill 5244. With that, that concludes the business of the committee. The Democrats will have a brief but important caucus following this public hearing. Any other comments or messages from any other members? Any other administrative items? Again, expecting executive action next week. Okay, with that, again, the Democrats will move over to caucus.
All right.
I thank everyone for joining us, and the business of the committee is complete, and the committee.
Sorry if I overlapped my own testimony. Man, that must have been terrible. Oh, my heart's beating. God, I was late and I couldn't find the Zoom link. So I hope that I did my small part to put a reasonable voice against the nuclear hysteria. So thank you all. This is the work that I do to fight fighting. This is the work I do to fight climate change. It is like really disgusting to see what folks are doing that threatens our climate. This bill is a tiny benefit. It is $20 million total. I thought it was $10 million per company. There are 2 tax deferments available. This is so ultra targeted. It's just disgusting the amount of energy that's fighting a tiny, tiny tax deferral. So please join me in supporting Washington State Senate Bill